Welcome to Robert Bellissimo at the Movies, where we explore all things cinema. I want to welcome back to the show Duke Haney, the writer who has written books which include Death Valley Superstars, Subversia, and Ban for Life. Duke, it's been about a year, so welcome back.
It has been about a year, and here's a little
There it
card I
is.
had made up for the book that led you and me to read to meet.
Yes.
And interestingly, Banned for Life, my soul to date published novel or finished novel of any kind, overlaps a little bit in subject matter with the film we're discussing, Performance, in that it deals with a reclusive semi
Oh,
rock star, never really that famous, but it's I don't think I was influenced by Performance while writing it or coming up with the idea. It just sort of hit me later that
mm,
that there was a little bit of overlap.
maybe
I wasn't even
subconsciously.
well, I don't know, not even necessarily subconsciously. I mean, I was thinking of other people somewhat for this character. I mean, a writer really more than um, a singer per se. I was thinking of Jack Kerouac. After his bout with fame, he sort of, disappeared somewhat. Was living with his mother, which is where this
Mm,
punk rock guy turns out to be living. He's living with his mom in Rancho Cucamonga, California. But Sid Barrett was somebody who came to mind. Sid Barrett, who was just rising to fame at the moment that Performance is being filmed. And of course, he was a great acid casualty and
mm.
disappeared and became sort of legendary in his disappearance. And so, in a way, I mean, he kind of lived out, the Turner story, the story of Turner
Ah, I
and
see.
Performance. I mean, there
Huh.
were other acid casualties of the rock era, and Nick Drake, the one of the great singer-songwriters of all time. He cracked up and withdrew utterly, although he never particularly famous in the first place. But he became reclusive. So I don't know, there's something in the rock and roll um, sphere, that sort of lends itself to this. I mean, Elvis even, like kind of a bit reclusive there at
Mm,
Graceland and all that.
yeah.
So there's something in the whole sort of ethos of rock and roll that lends itself to figures like Turner, in
Right.
this film.
Which leads us to this review. So I'll read a brief synopsis. A
Must
violent,
you?
yeah. I know you love. I love you. I know you love these synopses. This one, I think is fair on IMDb. A violent East London gangster undergoes a transformation of identity while hiding from his former colleagues in the home of a jaded bohemian rock star and his two girlfriends. Can't dispute that, can we?
Well, I have to say, we must find this particular contributor to IMDb, and we must crown this contributor with laurel, because that is by far the best IMDb synopsis you
There you
have ever
go.
read to me. I can't even believe I'm saying that because usually they're so half-witted.
I vetted this one in
Yeah,
particular for today.
thank you very much.
It was directed, of course, by Donald Cammell
Camel,
and
Camel.
sorry, Cammell,
Yeah.
and he wrote the screenplay. It was also he directed it with Nicolas Roeg, and it starred James Fox, Mick Jagger, Anita
Pallenberg, yeah.
Pallenberg, sorry.
Mhm.
Is it? I think it's Michele Breton or Brett or
Michel
Breton.
Breton. Yeah,
Breton.
exactly. Yeah.
And I love also Johnny Shannon, who's in this as Harry
He was great.
Flowers.
He was an amateur. He was the guy
Yeah,
who helped James Fox to prepare for the role.
yeah.
So James Fox was essentially tutored by Shannon for a few months. They were introduced uh, by a guy named David, uh, what is it? Litvinov. I have a book here about him.
Oh,
Jumpin' Jack Flash. He's kind of a legendary figure
no.
in the London underworld from that period, and he had a lot of influence in the making of the film. Donald Cammell knew him, James Fox knew him, Mick Jagger knew him, all before they coalesced to do this film. And David Litvinoff, actually, he huddled with Cammell while he was writing the screenplay. Although I don't know that there was ever even, a finished screenplay. I mean, maybe there was maybe there was at various points, um, but I know that Warner Brothers signed on basically on the basis of a treatment. And I've read excerpts from some of the earlier drafts of the script, but I think it was always kind of in flux, the film, and it had a whole angle that was thrown out during production that involved like a drug bust, and this flat in Palace Square under scrutiny, under surveillance by the cops. That was all thrown out. But anyway, David Litvinoff introduced Fox to the guy that ended up playing, what is it, Johnny Shannon, the guy that ended up playing Harry Flowers. And because, Fox was this posh actor.
Yeah.
I had never played a role like this. So Johnny Shannon, I think, had worked in the boxing world. He hung out at this bar called the Thomas of Becket, and that's where Fox hung out. And there were all these criminals that hung out there. I mean, David Litvinoff knew the Crays, the infamous Twang gangsters.
Yeah.
And their rivals, the Richardsons, who were also brothers, but they weren't twins like the Crays. It's quite a whole thing here. There was a boxing gym right upstairs from the bar, the pub, the Thomas and Becket, and Fox worked out there at the bar, and then hung, I guess during the days, and then at night he was hanging out with Johnny Shannon and all these criminal underworld type people, and just absorbed all this stuff, and then later recommended. I believe it was Fox recommended Shannon to play Harry Flowers.
Yeah,
it was based very heavily on Ronnie Cray.
Mm.
The gay twin, the gay Cray.
Yeah. I was gonna send you. There's that documentary on Cammell, Donald Cammell, The Ultimate Performance.
I watched it.
Yeah, I was gonna send it to you, and then I saw you on Letterboxd saw it, so I was like, okay, never mind.
Wow. Well, for once, Letterboxd comes in. It proves to be useful.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's a great. If anyone's interested, that's a great documentary on the making of this, and they interview everybody. I think it was in the 90s. Yeah, in the 90s, and they interview like pretty much a lot of people who are involved. So it's a great making of documentary.
The late 90s. Yeah. I mean, there's so much that's been written and said about this film. In fact, I have, two other books that I read in preparation for this. This is from the
the BFI one.
BFI Film Classics thing.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite shots in the film, actually, on the cover of this.
Right. Nice
book. And then this is wonderful. This is, I think, my favorite thing that I've read. It's another series of film guides, the ultimate A to Z, as we would say here. But I think that maybe the idea that for this film series, or I don't know if maybe this is, maybe they weren't all like this, but when I visited London, like a lifetime ago, I found it very difficult to navigate because I was used to the grid of New York City, and it's very easy to master. But London was all these streets that sort of dead end, and then they continue on. And so everybody in London, I mean, visitors as well as natives, I mean, they all had their copy of this guidebook, this map book called, I think they called it London A to Z.
Yeah.
And I was constantly stopping in the street like this, and it'd be like CAB, or F144, and I'm turning here, and oh man,
the days before Google Maps.
Exactly. So that put the London A to Z out of bit, the internet.
For sure.
Devices put that out of business. Like in LA, the equivalent was the Thomas Guide. Every driver in LA had the Thomas Guide.
Oh, I see.
You had to look up things in your Thomas Guide before going anywhere that you didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do you remember when you first saw this and what you initially thought?
Yes, I do. I had only recently moved to New York. I was in my late teens, and I had seen stills of the film in various, I guess, music publications. I was really into '60s music as a teenager, and I heard about the film. I didn't really know very much about it at all. I mean, but I was looking for an opportunity to see it, and then I got it. This is, of course, back in the era of the midnight movie, and there was I can't remember now if it was the Bleecker Street Cinema, which I've mentioned to you at least twice before in episodes about other films. I saw The Misfits there. That was one film that we did and
Yeah.
covered. And there was also this place called the 8th Street Playhouse on, of course, 8th Street. And I think it was there that I saw a performance. I think at one point they were doing a midnight movie every night of the week. And so this was, like their Tuesday midnight movie or something like that. And so I saw it, and I think I was just too young for the film. Wasn't expecting any sort of gangster angle to it, and that was a little surprising. And I think maybe the choppiness of the film for me was a little disorienting, and I just didn't really fully understand the film. I think by then I had already seen Persona, and this is an interesting thing because I watched the little neo noir or not thing that you did.
Yes.
And it's funny that you mentioned Persona right away. I mean, I later I came to think of this film as sort of the male counterpart of Persona,
Yeah.
Bergman's great film Persona. But interestingly, in all the reading that I've done about performance, in books anyway, in the books I have here in front of me, Persona is never mentioned. You mentioned it right away, and it just seems so obvious to me that it would have been an influence in this film.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But
Must have been.
it has to have been.
Yeah.
So uh, so so I don't think at the time I know I had seen Persona by the time I saw Performance, but and I really loved Persona, but I think I was somehow, I don't know, thrown by Performance. And it was only years later when I rewatched it that I really, in a way, discovered it. And the big thing for me with the film was just the performance within Performance by James Fox.
Yeah,
I
he's
just think it's
amazing.
one of
Yeah.
the great performances
Yeah.
in all of film history.
Yeah. It's almost hard
Right
to
up there with
believe.
Brando.
Yeah, it's almost hard to believe that he is like an upper class guy in reality because he's so
Yeah.
convincing as a gangster. I had a similar experience. It threw me the first time I saw it. I didn't really care for it, and I was really getting into Rogue at the time. This would have been almost 20 years ago. So, I love Bad Timing. I mean, I love so many of his movies. But this one I just thought I just didn't like similar experience you had. I just didn't get it. I just thought, what is this? What is this all about? This is so strange. But watching it a couple of times before today, I think it's a really extraordinary film. I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's I mean, quite topical nowadays with all the gender fluidity in it and things like that.
This
So
film is so much more sophisticated than anything that anybody could pull out of their. It wouldn't even be out of their own head because it's all coming from other people. It's really funny that we've evolved the system so that there are infinite, seemingly, categories of sexuality.
yeah,
And yet, if people just sort of plop themselves into these little ready-made categories. And um, this film is really, going after something wilder
yeah.
and
Oh, for sure, for
much
sure.
more elusive and difficult to define.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard
And
to talk about.
it broke the mold in like almost every conceivable way that you could break the mold in that era. And I just think that probably, I would think younger viewers would find it very difficult to appreciate in the way that I did, but for a different reasons possibly. I don't think that they could begin to maybe appreciate sort of what Mick Jagger represented at this time, at the time the film was made. How unique Jagger was at
Mm,
that time. I mean, he was really experimenting with, gender fluidity in a way. I mean, publicly anyway.
yeah.
I mean, I remember seeing him in Gimme Shelter, and this is not the first time I saw the film as a teenager, but later. And when it was re-released, it was remastered, or redone, or whatever the word I'm searching for here. And I just looking at him on the big screen, I was thinking, my God, this guy was like the most charismatic person on earth at this time. And I mean, you can see everything in him. He's male and he's female, and he's like an angel and like the devil. And, and he was like this kind of mix of characteristics. He was everything to everybody in a way. And, but he really was the boogeyman as far as, the square public in both Britain and America was concerned. I mean, he represented all the decadence and, everything that they feared about, rock and roll. Too, I think there was a new breed of gangster
Mm,
in London at that time, the craze of the
yeah.
Richardson. It was a much more, and another thing was that British society was really beginning to kind of, come undone a bit. I'll never forget seeing this something about the Beatles years ago, and this English woman saying something about, a lot of things began to change when the Beatles came along, and what it was is that you had these working class guys who sort of became kind of de facto royalty in a way. And it was kind of the beginning of a kind of, somewhat of a recalibration of the class system.
Mm, mm,
And these gangsters it kind of represented sort of another aspect of that, I think.
mm.
And the rock stars who came in the wake of the Beatles, like the Stones. But it was really the Beatles who kind of opened that door.
Yeah.
And I remember John Lennon saying in his great Rolling Stone interview in 1970, he said, I really resent, the underground press, the rock press, acting like the Stones were the revolutionaries, and he said, everything that they did, we did. You go back and you look, everything that they did, we
You did
did
first.
like a year or 6 months before them. They were imitating us the whole time, but
Right.
they just had a different image.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody once said something to the effect of, the Beatles were thugs, but dressed like gentlemen, and the Rolling Stones were gentlemen who pretended to be thugs. Something to that effect.
Right.
They were sort of more middle class. The Beatles
Yeah.
were,
That's true.
yeah, working class boys from the
Yeah.
north of England. And there was
Yeah.
no power in England in the north in those days. I mean, it was all
Mm,
south, London.
yeah. No, it's true. And piggybacking on something you said, like when I was taking down notes, I'm like, damn, this film is hard to talk about, like what even the collaborators, like there's you may have seen it, there's like a 30-minute, I think it's on the DVD, making of the film, not the Camel one.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
diff yeah, and there, you ask them, why did you do this? Why is it cut like this? They're like, I don't know, it fit, or the first part of the story had to be shorter because Jagger had to come in earlier. The studio insisted that Jagger come in earlier. What does the
yes.
ending mean? I don't know, So it's just like things just felt right, and which I like that in a way. It's totally organic. But what are some things for you that you take away for this as this film being like what they were exploring here?
Um, well, it's the film is in some ways about the relationship between sex and death, Eros and Thanatos, and it has to do obviously with the overlap between worlds, the criminal world and the Bohemian world or the artistic world, and
Yeah.
there was always that overlap from the beginning of Bohemia. I mentioned that, and one of her prior collaborations, if you will. Um, it really had to do, I think, with poverty. From the beginning of Bohemia, you had these artists who were living in these low rent areas side by side with pickpockets and prostitutes and pimps and so on. And in fact, there was still more overlap in the sense that you would have actresses who would veer into prostitution occasionally, as with the mistress of Baudelaire, Jeanne Duval. She was an actress who had dallied with prostitution. Um, I remember being shocked when somebody told me that all those lovely little ballerinas or dancers in Degas paintings, most of them were prostitutes on the side, or sex workers, as we're forced to say now.
Mhm.
And so there was always this overlap between the two. But performance, it was made at a time when, again, you had these figures like Chaz Devlin, the James Fox character, who were sort of encroaching on the upper class, and sort of weren't content to kind of stay in their place, sort of, and the same with these pop stars and all that. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
Well, no, I mean, I think you're right. I mean, it's that fat gangsters, that fascination and connection between criminals and the bohemian types, and so these two worlds merging. It's like
Mhm.
basically two different films. But when I saw it again this time around, I was quite shocked by how violent the first part is. I mean, it's pretty brutal. It's beginning with that sex scene, with this S&M style sex scene, and they're he wakes up in the next morning with scratches all over his back. But one thing I noticed this time around was he's constantly looking in the mirror. I don't know if you picked up on that.
Oh my God, their mirrors play a
Yeah,
huge role in this film. In this
yeah.
film, and he is constantly looking in the mirrors. One of my I'm wondering how much of what I'm saying, is borrowed from the reading I've done. But one I thought original idea I had while rewatching the film in preparation for this was uh, how the bachelor pad of Chaz Devlin um, uh, foreshadowed the bachelor pad of Julian Kay, the Richard Gere character, in American Gigolo.
Oh yeah.
And I just kept thinking about American Gigolo
Mm,
while looking at these shots
right.
of Chaz Devlin in his apartment, and these shots of, like, I think, like his underwear drawer, and we see like a shot of a drawer filled with cufflinks, different cufflinks. We see cologne bottles in the kitchen sink, or the bathroom sink. Actually, this is off the subject, but I drinking from my Playboy mug today because, and as an homage to
Yes,
the film, because you see him with a Playboy mug on his
that's right.
coffee table, actually, and with this then current issue, I happen to have this here of Playboy magazine,
Oh,
August 1968 issue of Playboy magazine, and
oh
he's
wow.
arranging that on the table. But I was thinking, I've never heard anyone say that Paul Schrader was influenced
Mm,
by performance um, uh,
yeah, I can see that.
when directing American Gigolo.
Mm,
But I mean, I see a very obvious, overlap there,
yeah.
and so
But that was one thing I didn't, the other viewings I had, because here's this guy who's um so violent, so brutal, but yet there's something I don't know if feminine is the right word about him, which makes sense later because in the second part of the film, um, he's so comfortable in drag. I mean, he's so again if we're looking at it from this, which is again like I said, topical nowadays, gender fluidity as the gender is it's a construct. He's raised in a certain way, so naturally that's why he's so much more violent. But there are things that about him that he's born with a feminine side, which bleeds into the second part when he's in that an entirely different environment. And he's rough with women, but the other woman he's with, who's boyish looking, he even calls her a little boy. He's quite tender with her, So whether that character is gay or we don't have to put a label on it, but that I thought was so interesting, the way in which he's right at home in drag. I know that's part of the plot that he needs it for a passport photo, but he becomes really comfortable also in another skin in the second half of the film. So I was just fascinated by that. And in one environment you could be molded one way, and then in another, if you're brought up in another environment or put in another environment, um, your behavior can change. Did any of those? Does that resonate with you at all? Or
Well, I mean, aspects of what you're saying do. Um, um, First of all, I think the missing word there, and what you were saying earlier, is narcissism.
right, right,
Narcissist. He is a narcissist, and in fact, on the subject of mirrors, in looking at the film, I was rewatching it somewhat last night to kind of prepare for this. I mean, I watched it about a month ago and made about 100 pages of notes. But one thing that had eluded me the last time was that at the very beginning of the film, the title sequence, the very title of the film, Performance, the film freezes for that word to appear, and it freezes over the image. It's hard to tell, but it's of Chaz Devlin holding a mirror. The word
mm,
performance is superimposed over this shot of a mirror. The persona that Chaz Devlin has created, is has been pretty painstaking. You can see that his the haircut is very careful. These suits, my God, I mean, he looks so sharp in those suits. And actually, at the end of the film, I was looking at it when I was looking at it not long ago. I noticed that there was a credit that said something like Mr. Fox's suits by Jaime of Waterloo, and I just wanted to say, right on, Jaime of Waterloo, man, you get a big thumbs up. Those are some great looking suits. And this whole sort of veneer that he's put together, he's put a lot of time into this, and probably he was received some tutoring from Harry Flowers, among others. He was a boxer before he got into this line
yeah,
of work.
yes,
And so we don't know. There are just hints in the finished film as to what went on with him before he became an enforcer for Harry Flowers. There seems to have been some kind. We don't know what went on with him and this other boxer,
right.
Joey Maddox, but it's
They
almost
refer
as
to it
if
as personal, something personal in their
double
history.
personal. Harry
Yes,
Flowers says,
right, right.
um, and um, there's something about this relationship. It really there's an animosity that Chaz feels about Joey. That's just, it goes beyond
Yeah,
the usual animosity.
yes, yes.
And he makes a remark that's aborted at one point. He says something to the effect of, almost with a wistful look in his face, up until he got into that sodding bedding shop or something like that. So it was as if this business sort of came between him and Joey. And then there's at one point there's a cut to an old film, black and white film of two boys fighting in a ring, which is kind of interesting. So they seem to have had this relationship that's gone back a long ways. It's almost as if Chaz was sort of in love with Joey.
Yeah, that's the impression I had.
And he's really furious with him because something happened to cause Joey to move away from him. And then Joey proves to be the homme fatale in a way, Chaz's homme fatale, because Chaz goes against the orders of Harry Flowers to personally intervene in in this whole takeover of this Joey's betting shop by the firm, by Harry Flowers' firm, and runs afoul of Harry Flowers, is censured by him. In a public situation, kind of humiliates Chaz. And really, in a sense, I think Joey feels empowered at that point to sort of go exact his revenge on Chaz, kind of his covert vengeance on the firm itself. But he's going to take it out on Chaz because he knows that Chaz at this point is not in high regard to Harry. He's been gotten a real slap on the wrist, and so we see the word "poof" written in red paint on the wall, kind of like Helter Skelter,
yes,
written in blood on on the walls of the La Biancas or the refrigerator in that case, but a rise in the door of Sharon Tate. These crimes that happened like a year later reverberated throughout the world. But you see the word "poof." And there's this bit where, absolutely, this is like this kind of like gay S&M beating that's going on.
And they keep cutting to the sex scene in the beginning while he's getting whipped.
Well, we have heterosexual S&M, and then we have homosexual S&M.
Yes.
And according to the actor who played Joey, he said that, out of all the stuff I read, actually, he had the most insight. That guy, Donald Cammell didn't like him, and vice versa. There were a lot of mind games going on the set, apparently. But he said that Donald Cammell wanted him, the actor playing Joey, to be shirtless and oiled up during this scene. And the actor objected. He was like, "That's not Joey,
Right.
Why do you want to be shirtless and oiled up?" And he said that Campbell was like, "Oh," he said he did that sushi thing of like, "Oh, come on, man."
He really wanted to push it, I guess.
He really did. And apparently there was a lot of dialogue that was taken out that really drove home like the whole gay thing.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't know that.
Apparently this is the scene that supposedly that caused the wife of one of the Warner Brothers executives during an early screening of the film for Warner Brothers. Legend has it that the wife of one of the executives vomited while watching the film.
Oh, yeah.
I heard that. Scene, legendarily.
Yeah, I heard that.
So she was just horrified because, once again, this film was just going places that, we just, films had, it just hadn't gone quite, up until, this time. And so apparently, it was spelled out much more flagrantly. I don't know how much more flagrantly it could have been. It's pretty flagrant as it is.
Yes.
But Joey seems to be wanting to get this admission from Chaz. He's like, "Say it, say it," and then Chaz says, "I am." He's like, "Yes, yes," and he's finally going to get Chaz to say, "I am a poof." But I mean, we don't know, what the situation with Joey is. I mean, is he saying a poof like me? Or I mean, at one point, Joey calls Harry Flowers a pervert. So clearly, he doesn't see himself in that category, and yet he's running around with these two young guys, who are like doing his bidding. Like, hey, Joey, should we redecorate him? Um, so I mean, we have no idea like what's going on there, but I don't know. It does seem to be some kind of like weird lover's quarrel.
That's exactly what I thought.
Yeah.
That's
So
exactly
there
what I
was
thought.
there was this latent bisexuality. I don't think that I wouldn't say that Chaz is you know uh, exclusively gay.
Right,
I
right.
think the film is more subtle than that.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that in the parlance of the time, I mean, there's a latent homosexuality there. I guess that's now a forbidden term, like most terms. But and something he's denying.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that he's a very typical working class guy. He's sort of right wing. I mean, one of the big dirty words in the film is foreigner. Do you
Mm.
remember, like early in the film, the guy Moody? And that guy was a real life criminal. The actor playing Moody. I mean, he's
Yeah.
actually they're driving along, and Moody's like going on about violence in television, how it's corrupting kids, and then there's like some other driver toots the horn or something, and he shouts out the window, bloody foreign female. So you
Right.
get this, like, there's misogyny,
Yes.
xenophobia. I mean, this is a classic kind of working class kind of persona there
Yeah.
that we're saying, and that's kind of for all his exterior gloss, chances this glossy persona that he's constructed, this performance in a way he's giving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Underneath it, he's just this very conventional sort of working class boy.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think that's what is challenged and sort of undermined and kind of redone
Yeah.
when he goes to live with Turner, who turns him, Turner.
Yes. Yes. Ah, good.
um,
Yes.
and so there was a thing I wanted to add to that, but maybe I'll shut up because I've been running around. I've been running my
No,
mouth
no,
too.
no. As well, yeah, I completely agree. It's well said. And
I did
when
want to say one thing,
go ahead, go ahead.
Robert. I just wanted to add this because there's this whole bit later on. Anita Pallenberg, who's brilliant in the film.
Yes.
I mean, she's just playing herself. But I mean, Anita Pallenberg was so brilliant that I mean, all she had to do was just show up and just look like she did and act like she did and just be brilliant. And But she tells a story of how Turner, quote unquote, who was a rock star in seclusion, lost his demon, as she puts it.
Yes. I was gonna ask.
And he
I
was
was gonna
looking
mention
in a
that.
mirror,
Right.
and she said he was looking at himself in the mirror, and he said, it's time for a change. And she says, at that moment, the demon left him. It's as if the demon was like saying, it's as if the demon was like, okay, motherfucker, time for a change. I'm out of here. Bye.
Right.
And he split, right? And it's interesting. There's an earlier scene between Turner. It's the scene where around that time that Chaz is being accepted as a boarder in this house
Yeah.
with Turner and Ferber, the Anita Pallenberg character, and the term uh, Chaz says himself. This is before we hear the story of the demon leaving Turner. He says something about it's time for a change, and this is the very scene where this is really eerie shot of the face of Mick Jagger sort of superimposed
Yeah.
on the face of James Fox, of Turner being superimposed. And it's almost as if at that point, this demon kind of changes bodies or something. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of tend to think that that the Turner character. I mean, because we kind of see this at one point. There's a bit where he sort of at one point they're Ferber and Turner are redressing Chaz for a passport photo. They have like these
Yeah.
racks of clothes and all that, and they're trying to kind of create a new persona for his passport photo because he's trying to flee Britain for the States and for New York, and suddenly Turner sort of strolls in. He's dressed like a 1950s greaser, and this is when he delivers this line, the only performance that really makes it, is the one that achieves madness. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so I think what we're seeing there is Turner before he became a rock star, before he began to play with femininity, with androgyny. He almost reminds me of Frankenfurter, Dr. Frankenfurter in Rocky Horror Picture Show in this film. He's dressed in like this sequin jacket at one point. He's wearing makeup. I mean, he looks like a semi-transvestite, really.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a semi-transvestite in the film.
Yeah.
So I think what we're seeing in that bit with the hood is, that's Turner before, and I think that this demon that left him, may represent masculinity in a way, and so living in this kind of green, in seclusion with these two chicks, both of whom were kind of androgynous. There was a shot of Anita Pallenberg at one point. Is the moment when she joins Mick in bed and Michele Breton in bed. She was the girlfriend of Brian Jones before she was the girlfriend of Keith Richards. It was uncanny how much she looked like Brian Jones. I mean, she looked just like him.
Oh,
the same haircut.
Right. I didn't even think of
Brian
that.
Jones was the model for Turner that Donald Cammell used for Turner.
Right.
And Michele Breton, as you mentioned, I mean, she's androgynous.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's as if Turner has sort of kind of become lost in this kind of cave of androgyny in a way.
Yeah.
And the reason that the arrival of Chaz kind of fascinates him, and he ultimately keeps him around, although initially before he's even met Chaz, he wants to send him away.
Yeah.
It's really funny. They're using both the masculine and the feminine pronouns for each, like she and he. When they're talking about Chaz, he's like, you'll like her. He goes, no, send him away, or send her away. They're talking about they do that with each other at one point too. He calls her sir or man or something like that. It's really, so there's this kind of I don't know, androgynous torpor that they're living in, and it's funny because on the one hand, the film seems to be suggesting that Chaz sort of needs to get in touch with his feminine side or recognize it or something, which ultimately he does after a shattering hallucinogenic experience. Okay.
Right.
It takes that much to break through, and they basically have to slip that. I mean, he has no idea that he's eating a magic mushroom. When he takes it, and suddenly it hits him. My God, I tell you, as a person who's done hallucinogens, that moment when the trip starts, my God, is that fucking dead on? I mean, because it often starts with like a match being struck. I mean, that was what it was for me. I was on a nightclub. I dropped acid. Well, actually, I had done mushrooms before that, but that was a little bit different. But when I dropped acid, like I struck a match, and the flame had a color I had never seen before, and I could smell the sulfur in a way that I'd never. It was incredible. I was like, whoa. I mean, I didn't know at the time that. I was so young. I didn't know that this is a kind of a universal experience. But what I was saying earlier was that it seems to be the masculine charge that Devlin brings into the house.
Yeah,
that kind of
the quote unquote demon.
The demon.
Yeah, that he's the missing link. Yeah, that's exactly how I saw it. Yeah, that's exactly how I saw it.
The film critiques masculinity, but it also recognizes. I mean, and it associates it with the most horrendous kind of violence. Which is accurate, but it also kind of recognizes sort of the the necessity of the masculine principle,
Mm.
in a way,
Yeah.
which you won't hear much nowadays
Hmm.
for good reason.
right, right. One thing, I mean, I know that they partly did this to speed because they had to get to Jagger, so they had to shorten the gangster part of the film. But like the rapid editing is so because when they're cutting back and forth to this courtroom, you're like, what is this scene, this trial?
Yeah, it's
Uh,
very confusing. If
very
you
confusing.
have to watch the film a few
Yes,
times
you do. Yeah,
to really kind of follow. Once you get a handle on it, it's very easy to make sense of.
very easy. Yeah,
But it takes a little while. It can take a few viewings, and
yeah,
I doubt many people would give it that,
right.
except true devotees of the film.
Yeah, yeah. But at the same time, it has such a chaotic feeling, like you don't even know what you're being thrown into. And I guess that
No,
it
you don't.
works. It works emotionally for the film because the first part is so freaking chaotic and violence as we're as we're following Chaz just on his daily errands, so to speak. So,
Yes, I remember that one of the first times that I rewatched the film. Um, I guess this is the first time after I had watched it, after a long time. I thought for a second that I'd been given the wrong film, like by the video store or whatever it was, because it's a shot of it's like Top Gun. It's a shot of like a jet streaming through the air with this kind of semen-like trail behind it. It was like, what? This isn't performance. But I mean, but we go from that to this sort of God's eye view of a Rolls Royce on a road, and then
yeah,
we're putting back and forth between the journey of this Rolls and Chaz in bed with this singer. Interestingly, she's like from the nightclub, the straight nightclub world. So this is sort of almost the extent of we can assume of Chaz's familiarity with the show business world. This the woman with them, by the way, was a former Miss World, and it's I mean the sex for that time. Was unbelievably graphic for a mainstream film.
oh
I mean,
god,
it was
yeah,
full frontal nudity.
yeah,
You can tell she's going down on him. He's actually, looking at himself in the mirror
in the
while she's
mirror,
going down on
yeah,
him. It's S&M. He's like beating her with a whip, and as
yeah,
you mentioned, the scratches in the back,
yeah,
and all that. So, my God, you can see why people would have been these
oh
people
god,
at
yeah.
Warner Brothers or all these squares, these suits. Like, oh my
Yeah,
God, what am
late
I seeing? We
60s.
paid for this, Lord, honey, leave the screening room immediately. Um,
It's shocking
we
even
really did
now. I mean,
freak out
God.
when they
Yeah.
finally got around to looking at the rushes.
Oh,
Apparently,
yeah.
for a long time, these people in Hollywood, at Warner Brothers, they had no idea what was going on. They were just like, "Oh, Mick Jagger, rock star, sure,
Yeah.
sure, make it." And
Yeah.
then at a certain point, they saw the rushes, and they were like, "Oh my God, what are you doing?"
Oh,
Because
God.
in a lot of ways, the film mirrors the production. Because I think production was like these people living in this enclosed world of
Yeah.
drugs and people. Somebody said on one of these things I read about it. I mean, he had never been on a set where so many people were like fucking each other. I mean, they were all smoking hashish. There's a shot of
Oh,
Anita
that's for sure.
Pallenberg injecting herself with what she says is B12, but by then she was experimenting with heroin. So there's a very good chance that was heroin. She's
Hmm.
injecting it into her ass.
Right.
And it was all these mind games. Donald Cammell was playing mind games with the cast, and then Fox and Mick Jagger had known each other socially for years, and he and Fox and his then girlfriend they were friends with Mick and his then girlfriend Marianne Faithfull. And apparently Mick was really cruel to James Fox, was always playing all these kind of like just fucking with them for being sort of posh and all that. And that was going on in the set. Anita Pallenberg was joining in. She was like picking on James Fox, and she knew he was like, I think apparently afraid of hallucinogens. She was like, I put acid in the coffee, this
Oh,
kind of
God.
stuff was going on, and and he was kind of already really on very thin ice mentally, psychologically. His father was dying of cancer while he was making
Oh
the film.
wow, didn't
And
know
he was,
that.
I think he had a case of imposter syndrome because success as an actor had come so easily to him. He was questioning that. He said that he was leading a wild life. I guess this would pertain to his sex life, because he doesn't seem to have been that druggy. And he was really questioning himself, and he kind of you know really hit the skids mentally while making the film. That's one of the reasons the performance is so compelling, because you can feel that Fox is kind of losing control.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
As you're watching the film, you're really literally watching a guy come unhinged on
Yeah.
film. I mean,
Yeah.
what's happening in the film is actually happening in life. And after he wrapped the film, he said he had a very, very hard time shaking the
Yeah.
character. He hung
Yeah.
around with those people for a while afterward, and then he went off and became a born again Christian,
Yes, I didn't know that.
with this evangelical group called the Navigators. Apparently, they
Right.
had some kind of nautical origins. And he left acting for 10 years, but it wasn't just a case of like somebody becoming temporarily a born again Christian. I mean, apparently he remained,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
still alive, and I think he still is a Christian.
Yeah.
But he really cracked up, making this film.
Right.
By the way, Nick Roeg and Donald Cammell talked about this kind of brain fuse that they had while making the film. There was a lot of like playing with identity that was going on. I think just in general.
Yeah. Well, I heard it was most technical. Rogue took care mostly of the technical side of things, whereas Campbell worked mostly with the actors and blocking the actors and things like that. But I know from that documentary that once they had to cut the film down, that Rogue was like he was not happy with. I don't think he liked how it turned out, and then he had to leave to go do Walkabout. I don't know. I think Campbell liked it in the end. Oh, am I frozen? Or sorry, I thought I was frozen for a second.
No. I don't know. I mean, it's really funny that I know that Rogue said somewhere that because the original cut was much longer. There was
Yeah.
much more prelude, and of course, as you mentioned earlier, one of the big points that Warner Brothers made to Campbell was that you need to bring Mick Jagger in
Yes.
much
Yeah.
earlier, because the Mick Jagger was the key to the financing.
Right.
These people at Warner Brothers, they were squares. They're like, oh, rock movie with Mick Jagger, oh yeah, we'll
Yeah.
fund that.
Yeah. Well, that'll make money.
Right. And so they were like, you need to bring Mick Jagger in earlier. So they ended up, just sort of cutting in this
Spray painting.
yeah, but actually there's an interesting thing there about the spray painting, because it's a red wall, red being a color of vitality, and he's spraying black over it.
Yeah, black, yeah.
Which kind of dovetails with that Stone song, Paint It Black.
Ah.
But it's
Didn't
kind
even
of
think
like,
of that.
yeah. Well, I'd forgotten what was I talking about a minute ago?
Oh, with the fact that the film was longer and
Oh yeah. Warner Brothers came in and they said, you gotta. So apparently Rogue was really liked the prelude. There was much more Chaz's life in there. And so Donald Cammell went in and he adopted this choppy editing style. He was not the first to use it, because Borman, interestingly, an Englishman, had used it, that kind of style for Point Blank.
Point Blank, yeah.
But it was very choppy. And it's funny that Nick Roeg, I think apparently at one point he threatened to he said he was going to take his name off the film.
Yes.
And yet you see that he used that same style of editing.
That's true.
His own work later.
Yeah, for absolutely. So whether his mind changed about it, it's hard to say. But even the editor, the original editor, wouldn't even do it. So they had to bring in Frank Mazzola. Like all that rapid cutting was was done by him. But I mean, I think it works. I think it works really really
Oh,
well.
it's no, it's great. And the
Yeah,
thing is that as much as they kind of just, threw the script away or just began to kind of, improvise on the
yeah.
set and all that. What's amazing is if you look at the film, because I was just, rewatching it last night, part of it a little bit earlier today. And I mean, what's astonishing is that you just see, the same phrases will recur again and again in the film. I mean, it all seems like it was, very carefully arranged, very carefully scripted.
Mm,
So that that a line introduced here, you hear it come back again, like "time for a change," for example.
right.
It all seems very deliberate. It
Yeah,
all seems like it was all by design,
yeah.
and yet I'm not sure that it really was.
Right.
From what I understand about production and post production.
Mm,
I
mm,
mean, they would have in post production, they would have gone in and isolated certain things and kind of like hit those points, I guess.
right.
But I mean, but the film really does kind of amount to a kind of text, if you see what I mean. Well, I guess all works of art can be said to be
Yeah.
texts. And so
Also has the first what you may be considered the first music video with the memo from Turner uh song in there, which is just suddenly we just have this music video like it's which I love, which is brilliant, where he's
it's
dressed
great.
up as where he's dressed up as Chaz.
The one thing that I really liked when I first saw the film. I like that because I love, the Stones of that era, and it was like a Stones song.
Right. Yeah,
Although
yeah, for sure.
Keith Richard refused to have anything to do with it because he thought that Mick was fucking
Yeah,
his
I
girlfriend
heard
Anita on
that.
the set,
Right.
so Mick had to do it all on his own. And it's just an extraordinary sequence. And of course, that's one of the important words of the film is "hole." Shut your bloody hole.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
then later, Turner talks about the hole that the mushroom is opening up in Turner's brain,
Right.
and and Turner wants to see into that hole to kind of see what makes Turner kick,
Mm.
or, uh, and 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 then in that the memo from Turner scene. I mean, this is basically Turner's hallucination, where uh, Turner becomes Flowers, and the two merge, and
Yeah.
they are similar in that they both control
Yes.
Chaz.
Yes.
And there's another term that you see, a term that you see that recurs in the film is push buttons or push those buttons and all that. But uh, and then in that moment, the homosexuality of the firm is just made blatant. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
there's been hinted at before. I mean, pretty broadly hinted at,
Right.
because I mean, you see Harry Flowers like looking at gay pornography in bed. There's a lot of in the film of people like covering their heads, pulling the sheets literally over their heads. You see it like 4 or 5 times. This is what I mean. I mean, you just see these things that recur
Right.
in the film. I guess that has to do with kind of it's like the opposite of performance. It's like hiding one's face. It's like
Mm.
refusing to resent any face.
Right.
That would be the opposite of performance.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, in that scene, it's all the the subtext is just sort of spelled out loud. And I read somewhere online, some anonymous person was interpreting the lyrics to the song, which is "Memo from Turner," and this person said that it was basically Turner saying to the others in the firm, that basically I've got the goods on you, and he says something to when Chaz walks into the room. There's like a lamp hanging lamp, and Turner flashes a light on Chaz.
Right.
You're singing
Right.
this whole verse about, I remember with you when you were a faggy little leather boy,
Yeah.
19 something, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
blah. So I don't know. I'm quoting, by the way. I'm not dropping the F bomb to be
Yeah, of
provocative
course. Of course.
or
Of
anything like
course.
that.
Well, the end, the killing of Turner at the end, and then we see as Chaz gets into the car to be killed, as the gangsters find once they find him there, and then as once his head turns, we see that it's Jagger as Turner. What do you see happening there? Is that a suicide, or is that a killing of Turner to kill the that side of him that maybe can't accept, his, whether it's his homosexual side, part of him, or what have you, or feminine side of him, is I saw it more as like, that he's shooting that side of him because he insists on being quote unquote normal. When they tell him, oh, you look good, and the compliment is drag, not compliment, but they mention,
He's not really in drag, though. They kind of turn him into like Jim Morrison, whose picture is on the wall. There's a little shot of
oh,
Jim
that,
Morrison.
yeah,
You
that's
see,
true. That's
they
true.
kind of
That's
put this
true.
Jim Morrison wig on him, but I think the idea is to turn him into a Persian assassin
Right. Oh,
of
right,
war.
right. Oh, right. Because they keep.
Because while Ferber is putting the wig on him and putting makeup on him and selecting his clothes and all that, Turner is reading aloud from this text
Yeah, yeah,
about
yeah. There's so many
the old man of the
literary
mountain,
references, and Voorhees, and
Borges. Yeah,
Borges. Sorry, even when you
no,
see
no,
the bullet going through.
it goes through a picture of
Yeah, it
Borges.
goes through a picture. It's like
Well,
it all. I don't know why he chose to do that, but it all seems to fit.
because there was a thing. I mean, I wrote it down somewhere. There was a thing about Borges, one man is all men, or I don't something to that effect. I mean, I've read Borges. In fact, I have his most famous book right here, and I didn't put this out just to to flash during this interview. I just happen to have it right here, Labyrinths.
Yeah.
And I don't ever think of Borges, that much in the way that Donald Cammell obviously did. But this whole thing about all men, I don't think of him that, those themes are not the themes that really struck Campbell, are not the themes that strike me so much. Have you ever read him? I mean, he just writes these
I
very
haven't. No, I
short.
haven't.
Oh, they're incredibly. I mean, he's amazing.
Hmm.
They're just incredibly. They're very small, very short stories, incredibly compact, and just practically every one of them, it will just go on and on, expanding in your mind as you think about it. I
Hmm.
mean,
Oh, okay. I'll have to read his
they're
books.
quite remarkable,
Hmm.
and that's all he really wrote. And they're all sort of most of them are kind of fantasy
Right.
of a kind, but not fantasy as uh, most people nowadays would interpret would use the term. So Borges was a big influence on Campbell when he was, thinking about the film and writing the screenplay and making it and so on. Obviously, in post production, they put that picture in there.
Yeah.
And Jean Genet was a big influence. Artaud, Theater Cruelty, that was a big influence on him. I mean, the film is just filled with. I mean, you see books. I mean, it's filled with all these Easter eggs, these references. You could just go on cataloging them for
For sure.
quite some time.
For sure.
And it was the Moog synthesizer just come along. I mean, that was probably the first appearance that something like that had ever made in the film. I mean, Jack
Hmm.
Nietzsche wrote part of the score.
Oh yeah, the score is
Using that.
incredible, and the use of sound and everything is it's
And
unbelievable.
yeah, no, it's just yeah. So
But is
um,
that is what do you take the ending to be? about? I mean, it's hard to talk about, but what do you, I was curious, what you, is that suicide? Is that murder? Or is it double suicide? Or what is it to, I was curious what you see there.
Well, I think um, Turner understands, maybe not instantaneously, but he understands that when Chaz enters his bedroom at the very end of the film, I think he understands that Chaz has come to kill him.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like uh, Brando in Apocalypse Now and Martin
Mm,
Sheen. Um, and I think Turner is ready for death. And right before Chaz Chaz shoots him in the head, Turner lowers his head. It's like he just puts his head down, like right in front of Chaz, as if inviting him to shoot him in the head. It's like um, in English aristocrat of the Tudor period or something, laying his head on the block to be chopped off, since that was a method of execution reserved only for the aristocracy in that era. So I think he knows what's going to happen, and Donald Cammell had he ultimately killed himself in the same fashion.
right.
And actually, I remember that day very well because uh, Donald Cammell. I was just talking about this the other day with my neighbor Joe DeAugustine. Um, uh, the actor Mark Boone Jr., who was at the time my best friend, he and Joe were remodeling Joe's house right up the street from me, and Boone was living in this little guest house shack on Joe's property, and Donald Cammell's wife, Chena, was visiting Mark Boone Jr., on that day with a guy named Kevin. I always wondered about that. Maybe I shouldn't say that. They were there that day, and then I heard that she had gone home and found Donald. This is apparently, according to that documentary, this is not exactly how it played out, but Joe just confirmed that yes, Chena and Kevin were around that day. That day, the day that Donald Cammell killed himself, shot himself in the head. And according to the documentary, his own brother says that Chena was at the house, so his brother would know, I guess. And Donald came into the room where Chena was sitting at her desk. He dropped some papers on her desk. I think David Cammell, his brother, said that she was on the phone with somebody, and that these papers absolved her of any responsibility for Donald's death. And he went to the next room and shot himself in the head. And he lived for about 45
Yeah.
minutes after that.
Yeah.
And he said to her, one thing he said is, "Can you see the picture of Borges in the hole in my head?" And also, supposedly, he asked her to bring him a mirror so he could look at
Yeah.
himself
You watched
dying.
himself die. Wow.
So, when people talk about, whose film performance is more, um, it used to be, Nick Roeg, and then it became fashionable to say Donald Cammell. And the author of, this BFI film classics book says that it was, that's a simplistic question and all that, but definitely the ideas of the film, I think, came from Cammell. I mean,
Oh
there's
yeah.
no question about it.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. Well, he wrote the whole script. So,
Well, or semi improvised it
right.
anyway. I mean,
Right.
yeah. I mean, it began with him anyway, and I mean, he
Yeah.
knew. I mean, he knew Fox. He knew Anita Pallenberg. I think he knew her even before she met the Stones. I mean, he knew Mick. I mean, he knew all these people. He kind of brought them together.
Mm.
So I wanted to say about this still earlier. This using the cover. This is a moment in the film where we see um, Chaz. This is right before he bursts into that minicab to like terrorize the people, put the frighteners on them. As he puts it, at the beginning of the film. And there's this moment where you see him in the back of this car. It's really funny. He's just sort of sitting and waiting. It's kind of like a performer with stage fright, like he's getting into character.
Oh, right.
This moment before he bursts in, and he has to sort of go into the persona of of the frightener or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I'll have to read that. I didn't realize BFI did a performance book, so I'll have to.
It's better than Camille Paglia's book about the birds, which was I found maddening. But this is the better book to read. I'm telling you. This book, at the end of it, Colin McCabe, who was or is still an academic, feels the need to go in and begin to quote Judith Butler on gender and all this stuff. And I guess it was just requisite for an academic at the time this book was published. And we don't need that. I just think it was superfluous. And some of the sentences in the book are, they were real brain twisters to me. And the other book is is better written, I think, and more insightful, I think, ultimately.
Okay, we'll have to check those out. We have a couple of minutes left. If you any final words on performance.
Well, I tell you what I will do. There were so many things that I ended up not getting into, which I wish I'd gotten into. But I will read you something here. A couple of things from this book, Jumpin' Jack Flash, that I think you might find amusing. Okay, so the character of Chaz was based on someone named Jimmy Evans. And so I just wanted to read you a little bit of this bit about the real life person. Okay, Jimmy Evans was a highly charged character, handsome and self-regarding, with a hair-trigger temper. A former protege of the Crays and the Richardsons, who were as I said, I think earlier, the rivals, the brother rivals of the Crays. But he preferred to operate as his own boss. He was known for his expertise as a safe blower and for his arsenal of revolvers and rifles, at least one of which could almost always be found about his person. Since the end of 1964, he had been in a feud with Freddie Foreman's gang that began when he bugged his wife's car, discovered she was having an affair with Foreman's brother George. Evans's method of terminating the liaison unfolded on the evening of December 17th, 1964, when, after an altercation during the daytime, he headed over to George Foreman's flat. The Foremans were expecting him and had left the door open while they and half a dozen colleagues waited in the dark upstairs. When Evans had climbed the flight of steps, breathing through the high tang of urine that hung in the dirty stairwell, he called out for George, who emerged, and asked Evans in for a chat. Evans told him that this is quote unquote, that the only thing that's going to do any talking around here is this, end quote, at which he drew a sawn-off shotgun from his raincoat, and with the cry of "Happy Christmas, you cunt," fired it into George Foreman's groin. Foreman was almost castrated, and someone recalled that left him, quote unquote, very upset. Isn't that a hoot?
I would imagine it would.
I would imagine. Wouldn't you imagine?
to say the least.
Then I mentioned that guy that played Moody being a real life criminal. There's something in here about him also. Apparently he was quite popular. Let's see, here we go. It has to do with Johnny Bendon, who played Moody. So he was renowned for being the very proud possessor of a 1 foot long penis, which was a familiar sight to almost anyone who associated with him for more than a few minutes. He'd flop it into someone else's pint of beer. Look, he's thirsty. Ask a woman for her phone number and then whip it out and write the number down crossways,
Oh,
or
God.
thread it erect through the handles of 3 half-pint mugs and leave them hanging there as his party trick.
Jesus Christ.
Just the sort of character, then, to impart to the film a certain rough and ready quality. All right.
I won't ask your social media handles because I know what
I'm not doing social media anymore. I decided actually, no, I will never, ever post anything on social media ever again. It's poison.
I don't blame you.
Is poison. And I'm never going to forgive Zuckerberg for his collaboration with the authoritarian government we now have in the United States. And I've kept for the time being my X account or a Twitter account open, but I just won't have anything more to do with it. I will not contribute to this noxious atmosphere in any fashion. And I never even posted much about politics before, but I just won't have anything to do with it. So that's that.
I do not blame you. So we'll skip that
All right.
portion of the review. So Duke, thank you so much. Anything to plug before you go?
No. I think I already did my plugging. So if you leave that in, I mean, I can, this time I can hold up the actual book.
It is.
Oh, and here's Poor Band for Life, the Ignored book. Can you believe that's me on the cover? Long time ago.
I can.
Yeah. And I actually didn't even have that there to it's like with the Borges book. I actually it was meant to just brandish all these books pertaining to performance, but not my own or not a book by Borges.
Well, there we go. Perfect place, perfect time. Well, Duke, thanks again, and this will be out very, very soon. So thanks for coming on, and thank you all so much for watching. We will see you in the next one.
Thank you for having me, Robert.
I want to thank all of my members on Patreon. If you're interested in becoming a member of my Patreon, head over to the link, patreon.com/Robert Bellissimo at the movies for full details. You can also leave a donation, or what I call a tip, by clicking the thanks link, which you will find directly below the video frame. Just click on that and you can leave a donation if you choose to. Of course, I would greatly appreciate that. And lastly, if this is your first time here, please consider subscribing. It is absolutely free to do so. By pressing the Robert Bellissimo at the movie logo, you will see it floating above my head in the top left corner to your top left. In just a second, just click on that. And then click the bell in order to get a notification every time I release one of my new videos. I would also really appreciate if you leave a comment, share the video, like the video. All of these things create traction onto my YouTube channel and really help share the video far and wide and the channel in general. So thank you so much for doing that, and I will see you all in the next one.